I was never the kind of girl who jumped to conclusions. I always gave people the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it was the way my parents raised me, calm, considerate, always assume the best. But that night, as I stood in the hallway of our tiny two-bedroom apartment in Chicago, staring at my bedroom door cracked slightly open, I felt something shift inside me. I had closed that door. I was sure of it. The apartment was silent. Too silent. No music, no cooking, no Sierra pacing on a call with her mom. Just a still, creeping quiet that crawled up the back of my neck. I took a step forward, my bare feet whispering against the wooden floorboards, and pushed the door fully open. My drawer was open. I stopped breathing. It was the second drawer in my small, beaten-up white dresser, where I kept my prescription meds, some cash, a pair of earrings my grandma gave me before she passed, and a little velvet pouch with $300 in emergency cash I hadn't touched in over a year. The drawer wasn't just open, it was pulled all the way out and slightly tilted, like someone had dug through it in a rush. I didn't scream. I didn't gasp. I didn't even move. I just stood there, frozen, heart pounding in my throat, eyes scanning the room. Nothing else seemed out of place. My bed was still unmade, the curtain slightly ajar letting in the dull orange glow from the streetlight outside. My laptop was right where I left it. But that drawer, that damn drawer. I walked over, pulled it out the rest of the way, and began digging. The pouch was gone. Not misplaced. Gone. I dropped to my knees, yanked open the other drawers, checked behind the dresser, even under the bed. Nothing. Panic started in my chest like a slow burn and quickly spread to my limbs. Someone had been in my room. Someone had taken my money. And I knew exactly who that someone was. Sierra Blake. She had moved in 5 months ago. Blonde hair, hazel eyes, always perfectly dressed even in sweats. A friend of a friend from college who needed a room fast. I was hesitant at first. I liked my space, my solitude. But she was charming and made me laugh during that first coffee meetup. "I'm super clean and quiet," she'd said with a little giggle. "Honestly, you won't even notice I'm there." She was lying. Not just about being clean, though. She definitely left makeup smears on the bathroom sink and wet towels on the kitchen chairs, but about being harmless. The first few weeks were fine, but little things started happening. A shirt of mine was suddenly gone. I figured I misplaced it in the laundry. A bottle of wine I'd saved for a special occasion was opened and half empty one morning. She claimed a friend had visited and brought it over. A necklace I'd worn to a party vanished a week later. She always had an excuse. Always laughed it off like I was being paranoid. But I wasn't paranoid. Not anymore. I sat down on my bed, staring at the open drawer. My fingers curled around the comforter, and my jaw clenched. I wanted to confront her, march into her room and demand answers. But something stopped me. It wasn't fear. Not exactly. It was calculation. I didn't want to just accuse her. I wanted proof. And more than that, I wanted her to feel what I was feeling. The crawling violation. The cold realization that someone who smiled at you every day was secretly betraying you. The next morning, I acted like nothing happened. Sierra breezed into the kitchen wearing my hoodie. My hoodie. The black one with the red lettering I got at the concert last summer. "Oh, hey, Mads," she chirped, pouring almond milk into her cereal like she wasn't wearing stolen fabric. "You okay? You look kinda pale." I wanted to rip the bowl out of her hand and slam it into the wall. Instead, I smiled. "Yeah, just didn't sleep well. Probably the late coffee." She giggled. "Guilty. I made some around midnight. Couldn't stop binge-watching that murder doc." She winked at me. She actually winked. I watched her sit down at the counter and scroll through her phone, legs crossed like she owned the place. That morning, something hardened inside me. She didn't just steal from me. She mocked me. She wore my clothes like trophies, used my things like they belonged to her. And I had let it slide for too long. I wouldn't let it slide again. That night, I searched her room. She had gone to her friend Jordan's for drinks, so I had maybe 2 hours, tops. I told myself it wasn't wrong. She had stolen from me. This wasn't invasion. It was investigation. Her door creaked open, and I stepped inside. It was messy. Lipsticks on the nightstand, clothes draped over the desk chair, a half-empty protein shake on the dresser. And bags. So many bags. I started with the largest, a pink duffel near her closet. Inside, I found 3 things that didn't belong to her. 1. My missing gold necklace. 2. My old phone charger, which she swore she hadn't seen. 3. The velvet pouch, with a single $20 bill left inside. My breath caught in my throat. She hadn't just taken it. She'd used it. I sat back on my heels, heart racing. Rage bubbled up, hot and poisonous. But I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I closed the bag gently, took a photo of the items with my phone, and left her room exactly the way I found it. She had no idea I knew. And that was the power I needed. I began to study her. Not just watch, but study. Her habits. Her moods. Her tells. She left for work at 8:45 on the day. Always came home between 6:10 and 6:25. She had 3 favorite mugs she rotated. She always checked herself in the mirror before walking out. She used my shampoo when she ran out. She stole my granola bars when she was too lazy to go shopping. I let her. I wanted her comfortable. Because revenge, real revenge, isn't loud. It's slow, precise, satisfying. Over the next week, I did small things. Very small. I moved her eyeliner from her makeup bag to the bathroom drawer. I switched the salt and sugar in our labeled jars. I erased one of her saved Netflix profiles and renamed it Thief. She thought it was a glitch. She even laughed about it. Oh my God, someone renamed my profile. Probably Jordan. He's such a troll. I smiled. But inside, I was just getting started. One night, she was on the phone in her room. I sat in the hallway, lights off, completely still. Her voice was muffled, but I heard enough. Yeah, Madison's like super chill. She's kinda boring but sweet. Honestly, if I took $100, she'd probably blame herself for losing it. My blood turned to ice. She was bragging. I crept back into my room, hands shaking, not with fear. With clarity. This wasn't about the money. This was about dignity. About taking back control. About showing her that I wasn't weak. That night, I wrote everything down in a secret notebook. The plan. Phase 1 was done. She thought I didn't know. Phase 2 would begin soon. The next few days, I became someone else. Smiling. Pleasant. Unbothered. I made her coffee. I asked about her day. I even offered to pick up her favorite oat milk when I went grocery shopping. Sierra had no idea I was gathering ammunition. But beneath the surface, every moment between us was calculated. I recorded voice memos of her talking when she thought I wasn't listening. I tracked when she came and went. And more than anything, I waited. Waited for her to slip up again. She always did. One Thursday morning, I left my wallet on the kitchen counter. Open. A $50 bill clearly visible. I accidentally left the door unlocked when I ran to the laundromat. When I came back 30 minutes later, the money was gone. Gone. She didn't even hesitate. I didn't ask her. I didn't accuse. I just smiled when she said, "Hey girl." Oh shoot, did you leave your wallet out? That's risky in this neighborhood, haha. She laughed. I wanted to scream, but instead I nodded. Yes, stupid me. That night I updated the plan. She's done it again. No remorse. No guilt. She thinks she's smarter than me. I want her to feel the way she makes others feel. Afraid. Exposed. Alone. The next day, I bought a burner phone. I downloaded a private texting app and chose a random number. Then I sent her a message. Unknown. You're being watched. Smiley face. She didn't say anything about it the first day. But on Friday night, she came into the living room, pale, clutching her phone. Did you get any weird texts lately? I blinked. No? Why? She hesitated, then showed me her screen. Just the single message. I leaned in and read it. My best poker face in full effect. That's creepy. She gave a short, nervous laugh. Probably Jordan messing with me. Probably, I echoed. But she wasn't sure. I could see it in her eyes. A tiny, hairline crack in her confidence.
Good.
The next week, she barely left her room at night. She stopped going through my stuff, at least for now. She locked her door, checked the peephole before answering the door, and jumped every time her phone vibrated. But that wasn't enough. I didn't want her to just be scared. I wanted her to question everything. So I left her a note. Not in her room. On her pillow.
Typed.
No handwriting. No DNA. Just 6 words. I know what you took. She found it while brushing her teeth. I was already in the living room pretending to watch a movie. I heard the gasp, the scramble of her feet on the floor, the way the door slammed open. Did you put this on my bed? She snapped, holding the note like it burned her. I looked at her, wide-eyed. What are you talking about? This. She shoved the paper toward me. I took it, read it, and frowned. Where did you find this? On my bed. Who the hell would do this? I stared at her. Maybe someone who knows what you took? For a second, just a second, her face fell. A flicker of panic. Then rage. What is that supposed to mean? I shrugged. You said someone's been texting you. Maybe it's the same person. You're seriously not funny, Madison. I smiled just a little. I'm not trying to be. That night, she stayed at Jordan's.
Perfect.
While she was gone, I copied every file from her laptop onto a flash drive. She never logged out of anything. Gmail, Instagram, Dropbox, all open. She had an entire folder labeled Rent Docs. Inside were screenshots of fake Venmo receipts, forged messages pretending to pay her half of the bills. She'd been mooching off me for months. She even had a photo of the velvet pouch she stole, with a caption, "Oops." The rage I felt was cold this time, like black ice under your feet. Slick, silent, dangerous. This wasn't just a girl who made mistakes. This was a liar, a manipulator, a thief.
She needed to be exposed.
But first, I needed to make sure she broke. I printed one of her Venmo fakes and slid it under her bedroom door when she came home. She screamed. Not a loud scream, more like a strangled, choked sound. Then silence. Then a thud, like something heavy had fallen. Then her voice muttering, "No, no, no, no." I walked to the hallway, knocked once. "Sierra? Everything okay?" "Yeah," she shouted, voice shaking. "Fine. Just leave me alone." I walked away, but I was smiling. Over the next week, things got weirder between us. She barely ate. She kept whispering into her phone in the bathroom, water running so I wouldn't hear. I let her paranoia grow. Then I sent another message.
You're not sorry yet, but you will be.
She stopped going to work for 2 days. Told her boss she had the flu. But I knew better. She stayed in bed, curtains drawn, looking pale, haunted, confused. I watched her slowly unravel. She started triple-checking the locks. She unplugged the TV, the Wi-Fi, even her Alexa. And every time I passed her door, I whispered, "I know," just loud enough for her to wonder if she imagined it. One night, I found her sitting on the kitchen floor at 2 a.m., eating cereal straight from the box. Her eyes were red, her hair tangled. "You okay?" I asked, leaning on the fridge. She looked up startled. "You ever feel like someone's messing with your life?" I tilted my head. "What do you mean?" "Like you think you know someone, but maybe you don't. Maybe they hate you. Maybe they want to ruin you." Her voice cracked. I walked to her, kneeled beside her, and placed my hand over hers. "I know exactly how that feels." She stared at me.
Hard.
I stared back. She flinched first. Then came the turning point. Jordan texted me. "Hey, is everything okay with Sierra? She's saying you're acting weird." I replied, "I'm not doing anything. She's acting paranoid. Maybe guilt is catching up with her." "Guilt? For what?" I smiled. I sent him one of the photos of my stolen pouch and jewelry in her bag. He didn't reply. But 2 days later, Sierra was crying in the hallway, yelling into her phone. "I told you it wasn't what it looks like. Why would she even be in my room?" I stood behind my door, listening, waiting, plotting the final phase. Because I wasn't just going to break her. I was going to expose her. It all came to a head the night I slipped an envelope under her bedroom door. Inside it was a USB drive. No note. No explanation. Just silence. I waited in the living room, lights off, pretending to scroll my phone. 10 minutes later, I heard her door open. Her steps were slow, unsure. I heard the creak of her chair as she sat at her desk, the click of her laptop, waking up. Then, silence. No music. No Netflix. No TikTok sounds. Just a long, terrifying silence. The kind that makes the hairs on your neck rise. Then, slam. Her door flew open. She stood there, holding the flash drive in one hand, her laptop in the other. "You sick freak," she shouted. I blinked. "Excuse me?" Her hands were shaking. "How did you get these? My emails? My Dropbox? My private files?" I slowly stood up, heart racing, but face calm. "You're going to have to be more specific, Sierra." "What did I see, exactly?" Her face twisted. "Don't play dumb. You copied everything. My personal stuff." "Oh, you mean your fake rent receipts? Your photos of my jewelry? Your notes about how easy I was to manipulate?" She froze. And that was the moment, that split second when she realized. She wasn't in control anymore. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "You went through my laptop?" I nodded. "You went through my room first." "I didn't." "Don't lie, Sierra. You stole from me." She opened her mouth.
Closed it.
And then the tears came. But not real ones. No sobs. No shaking. Just practiced, calculated drops running down her cheeks. "I wasn't trying to hurt you, Maddie. I was just in a rough spot. I didn't know how to ask for help." I almost laughed. "You lied for months. You took my stuff. You faked rent payments while I covered both our shares." "I was scared," she wailed. "No," I said softly. "You were greedy. And you thought I was too weak to notice." She collapsed onto the couch like a woman defeated. But I didn't trust it. Because this wasn't just guilt. This was strategy. Sierra was always 3 steps ahead of anyone who trusted her. But I wasn't trusting her anymore. I was studying her. And as I watched her pull her knees up to her chest and sniffle dramatically, something clicked in my mind. Something I hadn't thought of before.
She wasn't just targeting me.
She'd done this to someone else before. I waited until she went asleep, if she even slept at all. And then I used the burner phone again. This time, to message Jordan. "Can I tell you a secret? I'm not who she thinks I am. I've been here before. Another girl. Another city. Same game. She'll do it again." Then I added. "Search her Facebook from 2 years ago. Try Mira." That name, Mira, was the clue. I'd seen it once in her Dropbox folder, attached to a saved photo of a keychain with initials MP. It looked like it was taken in another bedroom, one I didn't recognize. A mirror selfie. A familiar pattern.
But the vibe?
Too similar. The next morning, I received a message from Jordan. "Bro, you're not gonna believe this. There's a girl named Mira Patterson. Posted about a girl who moved in, stole her identity, racked up debt in her name, and vanished. Her name?
Sierra.
Same spelling. Same face. My stomach flipped. All this time, I thought I was retaliating against a petty thief. But this wasn't some one-off betrayal. This was her blueprint. That night, I confronted her again. But this time, with calculated cruelty. "I know about Mira," I said, standing in her doorway. Her spine straightened. She turned slowly, eyes wide.
"Who?"
"Don't play dumb." Her lips twitched. "You went that deep?" I stepped closer. "She trusted you. You ruined her life. Then you ran." Sierra stood, her expression slowly changing from fake innocence to cold amusement. "I didn't ruin her life," she said. "She left her passwords on sticky notes. She practically invited me in." I felt sick. "You're disgusting." She laughed.
"Please."
"Everyone's disgusting. I'm just honest about it." I wanted to scream.
To slap her.
To drag her out into the hallway and let the whole building see who she really was. But instead, I stayed silent. because I knew something she didn't. I had already sent everything to Mira. Mira replied within the hour. You found her.
Thank you.
I thought no one ever would. What she did ruined my credit. I had to move in with my parents. I'll do anything to help you stop her.
I felt like I had backup now. Proof.
Support. A witness. I wasn't alone. And with Myra's help, I was about to bring Sierra's whole world crashing down. The next day, I made my move. I printed out every document from her laptop. Emails, rent forgeries, even notes detailing passwords she used. I made color copies of her Instagram messages, mocking people she scammed. I slid one folder under the door of our landlord, and another into the mailbox addressed to her employer, and a third directly to Jordan. By the end of the week, her job was gone. The landlord gave us both a notice, move out in 30 days, but not before telling her she owed $2,400 in back rent. Jordan blocked her. And Sierra? She knew. She knew it was me, but she couldn't prove it. So she did what she always does when cornered.
She ran.
But not before one final moment. I came home from work on a Wednesday afternoon. Her room was half empty. Drawers pulled out. Suitcase on the floor. She stood in the middle, holding my velvet pouch in her hands. The same one she stole months ago. She looked up as I entered. I'm leaving, she said. I nodded. I know. She stared at me for a long time, then smiled. You're good, she said. Better than I thought. I shrugged. You underestimated me. She dropped the pouch onto the bed. You should thank me. I made you interesting. And with that, she walked out. No apology. No explanation. Just a ghost, drifting to her next victim. I thought that was the end. But a week later, I got a text. Not from her. From an unknown number.
Hi.
Did you live with Sierra? I think she just moved in with me. She's using a different name now. My blood ran cold. I replied.
Yes.
Get out while you can. The text from that unknown number haunted me. Even though Sierra had left my life, she was still out there. Changing her name, changing her face online, starting the cycle again. I couldn't shake the feeling that unless someone stopped her, she'd just keep preying on more women like me. I debated it for hours. I could stay quiet, pretend it was over. But then I remembered Mira. The pain in her messages. The years it took her to rebuild her life. And how close I had come to the same fate.
No.
Sierra needed to be exposed, for real this time. So I made a decision. One I couldn't take back. I started a blog. Anonymous. No names at first, just a detailed, story-based warning about my experience with a manipulative roommate. I posted receipts, conversations, redacted files, and then I invited others. If you've lived with someone who manipulated you, stole from you, or vanished with your belongings, I want to hear your story. Within 48 hours, I had 13 emails. 5 of them described someone shockingly similar to Sierra. Different cities. Different names, but the same patterns. She was like a virus spreading through Craigslist ads and Facebook groups. And no one was tracking her. Until now. The next part wasn't easy. I filed a police report. Even knowing how little they usually do about things like this, I documented everything. I brought my landlord in as a witness. Showed financial records, forged rent payments, email trails. It took weeks, but they opened a case. When the detective said, "We've actually seen her name before," I almost dropped my phone. "Wait, you know her?" He nodded slowly. Different alias. Same face. She's popped up in fraud complaints before. Hard to pin down. She moves quickly. I felt my heart race. But if we get enough evidence, he said, we can put a stop to it. That was all I needed to hear. Then came the hard part. Tracking her down. With help from the girl who had texted me, Emma, I learned Sierra had used a new name this time, Savannah L. Burke. Emma had been suspicious from day one. She was too nice, she told me on a call. Like, performatively sweet. Always making tea, giving compliments, asking me deep personal questions, and never answering mine. That was Sierra's pattern. Get close.
Disarm.
Observe. And then strike. I warned Emma. Keep your valuables locked. Check your credit. And don't tell her what you're planning. We created a system. Emma would leave her laptop camera on while she left the room. If Sierra so much as opened a drawer, she'd catch it. Sure enough, 2 days later, I got a frantic text. She went through my desk. I have video. What do? My stomach dropped. Send it to the detective.
Now.
And get out if you can. Emma moved in with a friend that night. Quietly. Without telling Sierra. She left a note behind. I know who you are. That was the push we needed. The detective called a week later. They had matched Sierra, aka Savannah, to 3 open fraud cases in different states. Her real name wasn't even Sierra. It was Lauren Taylor Quinn. And she had warrants. Real ones. I sat on my couch in stunned silence, listening as the detective explained what would happen next. An arrest warrant. A coordinated pickup. They had enough evidence to charge her with identity fraud, theft by deception, and unlawful credit access. You're not the first, the officer told me, but you're the one who gave us the break. I hung up the phone and exhaled for what felt like the first time in a year. But even after everything, even after knowing she might finally face consequences, I couldn't shake the past. I kept playing back that last moment we had. You should thank me, she'd said. I made you interesting. And maybe in some twisted way, she was right. Because I was no longer the quiet girl who paid for everyone and said nothing. I was the girl who fought back. The girl who exposed a predator. The girl who made sure no one else got hurt. But the confrontation still had to come. Face to face. And I didn't expect it would happen the way it did. I was walking into a bookstore one rainy afternoon when I saw her. Across the aisle. Hair darker. Clothes more preppy. But that walk. That smirk. Unmistakable. She hadn't seen me yet. I froze. My heart pounded in my ears. Do I walk away? Do I call the police? Do I say something? Then, as if sensing me, she looked up. Our eyes locked. And her entire face changed. She knew. She knew I had done it. She stood frozen for a moment, then took a step toward me. You, she hissed under her breath, her smile now venom. I heard you've been busy. I replied, calm as steel. Her eyes narrowed. Do you know what you've done? I tilted my head. Reminded people what the truth sounds like. She leaned closer, voice low and venomous. You think you've won, but this isn't over. I smiled. No, I said.
For you it is.
And then, like clockwork, 2 plainclothes officers walked through the door behind her. Lauren Taylor Quinn? One of them said, holding out a badge. Her face fell. The last thing she said before they cuffed her was, You think you're a hero, but you're just another girl I used to know. I didn't respond. I didn't have to, because this time, she wasn't walking away. I wish I could say that after Lauren was arrested, everything just fell back into place. That the anxiety melted away. That I stopped checking my locks twice. That I trusted people again with the same openness I once did. But the truth? The damage ran deeper than just stolen clothes or drained accounts. Lauren had stolen something more personal. She'd made me doubt myself, my instincts, my kindness, my generosity. And even though I'd won, even though justice had started to move in my favor, I felt hollow. Like the battle had carved out pieces of me I couldn't easily put back. The trial didn't happen overnight. There were hearings, delays, plea deals being tossed around. I testified. So did Emma. And Mira. And a few others who came forward thanks to the blog. Some wanted their identities hidden. Others didn't. But when I saw us all lined up, each of us with our own trauma, our own versions of the same nightmare, I realized something powerful. Lauren hadn't just targeted me. She targeted types. People who led with empathy. Who were lonely. Who said yes too easily. Who second-guessed themselves when things felt off.
And now?
We were finally saying no. The verdict came months later.
Guilty.
Sentenced to 4 years, with restitution ordered to her victims. Was it enough?
No.
But it was something. She couldn't slip away again. She couldn't change her name, move to another city, and start over like it was a game. She was held accountable. Finally. After that, I moved. I needed a fresh start physically, emotionally. I found a small apartment on the other side of town. New locks. New neighbors. New routines. I even adopted a dog, Ranger. He barked at everyone the first week, as if to say, "You'll have to get through me first." I laughed the first time he growled at the mailman. After everything I'd been through, it was comforting to know someone else was on alert too. I started writing again. At first just journals, short entries, messy feelings. Then essays. Then short stories loosely based on truth. One of them went viral. It was titled, "The Girl Who Moved In and Took Everything, but Left Me Stronger." Readers flooded the comments. This happened to me. I thought I was alone. Thank you for telling this story. That story, my story, helped more people than I could have imagined. And somewhere in the process of telling it, I started to feel whole again. But something happened on the 1-year anniversary of Lauren's arrest. I was walking Ranger through a nearby park. The sun was setting, casting a golden haze over everything. I paused to tie my shoe, and that's when I noticed something on the bench nearby.
A book.
Hardcover.
Thick.
Plain black cover. I picked it up. There was no title, no author on the front. Just a sticky note attached. "You're not the only one who writes stories."
L.
My breath caught in my throat. I opened the book. It was filled with journal entries. Some typed. Some handwritten. Some photocopied. All of them felt off. Paranoid.
Cryptic.
Obsessive. There were passages circled in red ink. Underlines. And sketches, distorted faces, strange symbols, names I didn't recognize. It was her writing. Lauren's. I didn't know how it got there. Who left it? Or why now? But I closed the book slowly and looked around. No one was there. Just a quiet breeze and the fading sun. I turned it in to the detective assigned to her case. He looked it over and said, "This isn't surprising. People like her rarely stop thinking about control, even when they're behind bars." That night, I had a hard time sleeping. Not out of fear, but out of something colder, like I'd been touched by a shadow again. Not quite haunted, but not quite free either. Life went on. I rebuilt my friend group. I started teaching writing classes online. Mira and I reconnected more deeply. We even met in person. We toasted with coffee over everything we'd survived. And she said something I'll never forget. "You know, it's wild. We never met Lauren at the same time. We never crossed paths. But somehow she's a part of both our stories." I nodded. "She tried to write the ending for us," I said. "But we're the ones holding the pen now." 6 months later, I received an anonymous package. No return address. Inside was a single Polaroid. It showed a messy bedroom, crates of stolen items, a calendar with names on it. Some of the names were scratched out. Mine was still circled, in red ink, and written on the back in neat, looping cursive. "You learned. Others won't. What will you do next?" I burned it. Literally took it outside, lit it with a match, and let it turn to ash in the wind. Not because I was scared, but because I refused to be dragged back into her mind games. That part of my life? Over. But I still write. And I still get messages from people who saw themselves in my story. I tell them the same thing every time. You're not naive for trusting. You're not weak for being fooled. You're not broken for needing time to heal. Because evil doesn't always show up with a knife or a mask. Sometimes it shows up with a smile, a shared Spotify playlist, and a split rent agreement. But survival? It starts with seeing the lie and choosing finally not to live inside it. I turned off the lights, closed the laptop, and whispered to myself, "This time, I'm the one writing the ending."